After the success of Conan the Barbarian, filmmakers were quick to put out their own sword and sorcery movies, and some of them were pretty good, and some of them were pretty fun, and some of them were directed by Jess Franco. Ugh. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at Fire and Ice from 1993. This film comes to us from animator Ralph Bakshi and is based on the characters created by Frank Frazetta. If you're a comic book geek like me, you probably know who Frank Frazetta is, and even if you're not, you might be familiar with his work anyway. It appeared on album covers and book covers and posters. You've probably seen at least some of it. I mean, he was one of the best, maybe even the best fantasy artist of the past 100 years. To bring Frazetta's characters to life, Bakshi utilized a technique called rotoscoping. This is where you film live action and then the animators trace over that action to give the animation a lot more realistic movement compared to traditional animation. This technique, by the way, was invented by one of my favorite animators, Max Fleischer, and he used it in the Betty Boop cartoons to capture the movements of one of my favorite jazz musicians, Cab Calloway. Let's see how Bakshi utilized this technique in Fire and Ice. We open on a narrator telling us there's an evil queen who has an evil army and an evil son, and that evil son has the power of ice. Not sure how he's making that ice grow, but looks like he's having fun. In the south, there's a kingdom of fire that stands against him, and in the middle of these two kingdoms, various villages, like this one, are at the battlefront. One of our main characters, a warrior named Larn, is from one of these villages. The evil queen sends an emissary group to the Fire Keep in order to negotiate a surrender. But it's just a ruse. They're there as a distraction. The queen has sent another group there to kidnap the king's daughter, Tigra. This sequence is pretty cool. Not too many traditionally animated movies did slow motion. It's a lot of work. Normal animation is around 24 frames a second, but to get smooth slow motion you have to do 50 or 60 frames a second, and that is a ton of drawing. Fortunately for Tigra, her captors aren't too bright, and it doesn't take too long to outsmart them and escape. And she'll eventually run across Larn. Larn is an honorable man, and he wants to help Tigra get home, which isn't surprising because Tigra has what scientists refer to as a badonkadonk.
What is a badonkadonk?
Anyway, the pair start heading south, away from the encroaching ice, and then Larn is attacked by a octopus monster of some sort, and Tigra is recaptured by the subhumans. Tigra does manage to escape, again, but things go from bad to worse when she's kidnapped by this troll creature who takes her to this forest witch who wants to sell her to the evil queen's evil son. Meanwhile, Larn has teamed up with a mysterious warrior called Darkwolf who has some sort of beef with the evil queen and her evil son. Will Larn and Darkwolf save Tigra? What will happen in this war between fire and ice? That's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. The animation. Oh wow, this movie is gorgeous. Animation is so cool. The background paintings are great, the character designs are beautiful. It is never boring to look at. And the action set pieces, of which there are quite a few, are really well done. No doubt because of the rotoscoping, but the character movements look like they have weight. The punches, the axe throws, the falls, it all looks real. Which I guess is one of the reasons to do rotoscoping. And the story clips along at a pretty nice pace. It's only 85 minutes or so, and none of that 85 minutes is boring. Which is a little bit surprising because there are long sequences that go without any dialogue, just action. But it turns out that's actually a good thing because the dialogue isn't that great. That's right, like a barbarian admiring a badonkadonk, this film has some shortcomings. Yeah, story-wise here, there's really not much of interest. The plot is paper thin, and even though it's only 85 minutes, it's kind of repetitive. Tigra gets captured, she escapes, she's captured by someone else, she escapes again. This happens like 4 different times, twice would have been enough. And beyond that, none of the characters are very well developed. I mean, well, aside from Tigra, she's certainly well developed. Who even is this Darkwolf character? I don't think they even say his name in the movie. There are some background clues that suggest he's special in some way, maybe from a lost civilization or something, but there are no details about him at all. But also, I guess it doesn't really matter. I think the best way to watch this movie is to just watch it and not think about it. Sometimes I like to look at comic books without reading them, just take in the art and whatever visual story is there, and I think Fire and Ice should be appreciated in that same way. It looks great, and it's fun to watch the images parade across the screen, and that's the limit to how much I appreciate the film. But I do appreciate the film at that level. It should be mentioned that plenty of people dislike the film for other reasons. In reading around, I found a number of reviewers who complained about Tigra and the subhumans and the ice wizard and the forest witch, everything really. A few quotes. "One of the most disgusting displays of the male gaze I've ever seen. The film also takes time to code the animalistic henchman as darker skinned and the main male villain as queer. There is no narrative reason for the predatory lesbian-coded witch with the giant caveman servant/slave except salacious homophobia. I tried to watch this film like 3 times last year for the animation but couldn't deal with the racism." If you would like to hear more comments like this from similar reviewers, I suggest picking up a copy of the book Shit White People Say, Movie Edition.